Move over Marcell Ozuna. Maybe Ranger Suarez is the fantasy MVP. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Wednesday, May 22nd. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, let's take a closer look at 4 breakouts. Maybe they're just really good, and we shouldn't doubt them. I have some hitters we haven't talked about lately, all the potential waiver wire ads, and much more. Let's jump in.
You can put it on the board. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about Ranger Suarez, who has been otherworldly this season. 7 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. Did that with just 9 swinging strikes on 108 pitches. Don't really see anything different, Scott, in the pitch mix this year, but I have noticed that the velocity on his sinker is down almost 2 miles per hour this season. 91 miles per hour. He's right around 93 last year. And maybe that's just allowed Ranger Suarez to command better. His walks are way down compared to his career walk per 9 so far this season. He has allowed a total of 10 earned runs in 10 starts. Per Opta Stats on Twitter, Ranger Suarez is the only MLB pitcher to go undefeated with a sub 1.5 ERA and 65 plus strikeouts over his first 10 appearances of a season. And that was since ERA became an official stat in both leagues in 1913. It's a 136 ERA, a .79 whip, doing a phenomenal job limiting hard contact. What do we do, Scott? How much do we buy into what Ranger Suarez is doing? And how much should he move up the ranks? Maybe he's just really good and we should buy in.
Well, you know, I've given the take so many times before. There have been many think pieces written about this. Ranger Suarez is doing a much better job of locating his changeup to minimize damage, and obviously he's avoiding walks. And maybe that'll continue. It's gone on longer than expected already. It's kind of reminding me, actually, of Justin Steele last year. That's what this feels like for Ranger Suarez. And I was skeptical of Justin Steele for a long while. Remember, anytime his name was mentioned, people got angry at my takes on Justin Steele because, you know, he seemed like the obvious Cy Young winner for most of last year. And as late as September 9th, well, the season's almost over, September 9th, Justin Steele had a 2.49 ERA. But then the last 3 starts happened and the ERA climbed over 3 and ended up not being the Cy Young Award winner. So, you know, regression isn't on a schedule, but regression does come. What do I think is going to happen with Ranger Suarez? I have no idea. Like, obviously, there's no reason to take him out of your lineup ever. I suspect from today forward, he'll have an ERA over 3. Maybe not much over 3, but over 3. Can he continue the low walk rate? Well, that was kind of part of what fueled Justin Steele's breakout last year. He went from being a poor control guy to an amazing control guy without having, you know, he had a pretty good ground ball rate. Ranger Suarez has a great ground ball rate. Steele swing and miss stuff was kind of middling. Ranger Suarez is a little less than middling, though he has averaged more than a strikeout per inning so far. So I don't know. I think that's a good comp. And I guess that makes me, relative to most people, a Ranger Suarez skeptic. But at the same time, what is there to be done about it? I mean, he's the top pitcher in fantasy to this point. If you're going to consider trading him, it would have to be for a haul. And yeah, I guess that's basically it. I don't know what more to say at this point. He had another good start. He keeps doing it. Hopefully he'll keep doing it for a long time. But I don't think he's mid-90s Greg Maddux, you know? Like, for him to be this good all season, he's mid-90s Greg Maddux. And I don't think he's Ranger Suarez. Do you think he's that? I don't think he's that.
No, I don't think he's mid-90s Greg Maddux. A couple other things I wanted to point out on just what he's done this season, Ranger Suarez. The ground ball rate is back up. It's right around 56%. Last year, that dipped down a little bit. It was under 50%, so he's getting ground balls and doing a phenomenal job of limiting hard contact. 84.1 average exit velocity, entering this start. That was 97th percentile. His 2.31 expected ERA, according to StatCast, was 95th percentile. Something that Chris talks about a lot with quality of contact metrics for pitchers takes a long time to normalize. So while he's doing a great job of that now, maybe it will continue. It's not that sticky. But he's doing a great job of it so far, as I mentioned. And how much further is he going to move up the rankings, Scott? I mean, I'm looking right now. I have him SP 31. You have Ranger Suarez at SP 37. I've had Phillies fans in the mentions all season saying he's a top 25 starting pitcher. I mean, are we at that point? Is he a top 25 starting pitcher?
I think you could make the argument he's right on the verge of that. That's where I see kind of the drop off in the starting pitcher rankings. Pitchers who have like an ace track record or they've performed like aces, but with like huge strikeout numbers, while Ranger Suarez just has decent strikeout numbers. So, I wouldn't be inclined to move him ahead of Jared Jones, for instance, or even Paul Skeens, who I have right at 25th now. So yeah, I think right there on the border of the top 25. I'm okay with anybody who wants to move him there. That's kind of the point where you get past the top 25. The pitchers who I see as really durable aces, I guess would be the way to put it, because they excel in so many ways or they have that ace track record. Once you get past that group, it's kind of 50 spots where anything goes, So if you want to rank Ranger Suarez atop the anything goes group, I'd be fine with it.
What are we calling that? The good glob this year? Last year
glob.
It was the bad glob. Now it's the
I got to tell you, Frank, and maybe it's showing in my tone. I have pitcher fatigue right now. I have pitcher fatigue because it just seems like everybody's good. And there's not really any rhyme or reason for it. It's not necessarily the big bat missers. It's not necessarily the extreme ground ball guys. It's not necessarily the extreme fly ball guys. It's like if you throw enough strikes, and it doesn't have to be like amazing control. If you throw enough strikes and you avoid home runs because so few of them are being hit, then you're great. You're great. So like, that's why it's like, okay, you could try selling high on Ranger Suarez. You would have to get a haul. Who's giving up a haul for any starting pitcher at this point? Because everybody has too many. That's what it feels like.
That's what I was going to say. Last point on Ranger Suarez was I wouldn't sell high because the way he's performing, you're not going to get anything close to what Ranger Suarez has provided you. And I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think you're going to get what a fair return should be for Ranger Suarez right now. So in most cases...
Well, let me challenge you on that. Somebody offers you Kevin Gausman for Ranger Suarez right now. What do you do?
I don't think I would do it.
Okay.
Which might be crazy to say.
I would do
looking at where those guys were drafted, right? Gausman's like a 3rd round pick, but Gausman has slowly moved down my rankings. He's like closer to SP 20 now, and Ranger Suarez is going to be inside my top 25 ish. So they're really not that far off. I don't really know that that's selling high per se. So.
Reverse the roles. Let's say you're the one with Ranger Suarez. If I'm offering Ranger Suarez to the Kevin Gausman owner, I'm asking for more than just Gausman for sure.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's try something a little different. So it's not such a buy low situation there with Gausman. Somebody offers you Cole Reagans straight up for Ranger Suarez.
I would do that. I would take Cole Reagans.
Yeah, me too.
The bat missing is just so much more enticing.
All right. Your guy, Logan Webb. It's been fine.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not like there's a huge difference in bat missing ability there. So,
yep. And again, it's, I've moved Logan Webb down. I have him at SP 16. It's like they're going to be within 10 spots of each other in the SP rank. So it's not a huge difference.
Pablo Lopez.
I think I would, but
You take Pablo. Yeah.
I know people listening to this with Ranger Suarez are they're just laughing. They're like, no way. Why would you do that? It's just
Let them laugh, Frank. Where's their podcast, huh?
Trust the process, man. I mean, the K- walk rate, all the underlying stats are as good as Ranger Suarez has been. The underlying stats for Pablo Lopez are even better than Ranger Suarez.
I mean, going back to what I said, and hopefully this is not dragging down the podcast. You know what? I don't care because it's interesting. I don't have a lot of interesting things to say about today's slate, but this is the most interesting thing I have to offer today, probably. Going back to what I said about how it just seems like every pitcher's good. That can't last. I don't think that can last a whole season just because I've never experienced a season like that. And I've been playing fantasy baseball for 25 years. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I imagine as the weather heats up, the ball carries better. And also you're going to see attrition kick in, and some of those pitchers who are performing well are going to be replaced by ones who won't perform so well. It can't last. But since we don't know who exactly is going to drop out there, I mean, by presumption it would be more the Javier Assad types and the, see, I'm reluctant to say Seth Lugo now, but I think it's more likely that he drops out than like a Kevin Gausman does permanently. I understand he's underperformed a little to this point, but it can't last. So, so I do still think it's like worth upgrading where you can within that that very difficult to gauge starting pitcher position. And so that's why I do think it's worth exploring sell high possibilities for Ranger Suarez. But
I think the answer might be cashing him in on a hitter, an early round hitter who's struggled so far.
Yeah, we always do the position to position thing, but
like
that's what everybody needs. So you said at the top of the show, maybe Ranger Suarez is the fantasy MVP rather than Marcell Ozuna, which we talked about yesterday. My answer is no, because
hitting
everybody needs hitting.
Scarce. Yeah,
everybody needs hitting a lot more than pitching. So Ranger Suarez is one of many, 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 many pitchers who have way exceeded expectations. And Marcell Ozuna is one of very few hitters who have, while many high-end hitters have fallen well short of expectations.
All right. Well, I would say 12 minutes is probably enough on Ranger Suarez. Scott, who is your player of the night?
Who was it? Oh, it was Colt Keith, because we all need hitting. So he went 3 for 4 with the double, second straight 3-hit game. And that gives him now still, bad numbers for the season, but he's batting .386 in May. And his strikeout rate is 11% in May. That's low for anybody, but especially for a rookie who's thought to have the power potential that Colt Keith does. The power hasn't shown up yet at all. 0 home runs. It's a tough environment for power. It's a tough venue for power. But if he keeps making contact like this, and I think we're going to see some amount of power from a guy who is eligible at both second and third base, which are two difficult positions to fill off the waiver wire. He's been dropped in a lot of leagues. I'm encouraged that Colt Keith has made this much progress from month 1 to month 2. Because remember, we were talking just yesterday about how it seems like first-year hitters are often needing a whole year to acclimate to the league now. Well, Colt Keith may have only needed a month. So I think if you have a need at one of those positions, second or third base, and the waiver wire just looks barren to you, I think he's worth a second look.
Again, that is Colt Keith, who is currently 31% rostered. What do you think, Scott? Maybe like 12-team roto leagues, anywhere where you have a middle or a corner, just kind of put them on the bench and see where it goes? Or are we not at 12-team leagues yet?
I think in 12-team leagues you could consider picking him up and putting him on your bench. It's always the bigger distinction is head-to-head versus roto. This is probably more of a roto recommendation because head-to-head, so much of your bench has to be devoted to pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
But in roto leagues, I'd be looking to pick up Colt Keith if he was dropped.
So I just put a poll up on Twitter. Which pitcher would you rather have rest of season, Pablo Lopez or Ranger Suarez? That should be a fun one. Lots of recency bias on Twitter. If you remember, Scott, remind me to check back in on that later on in the show. I want to update people on what the poll results there on Lopez versus Ranger Suarez. Want to give an honorable mention to two stud hitters who both look like they have taken another step forward this season, which kind of seemed hard to believe for either one, but my goodness, Kyle Tucker, 2 for 4 with a double dong. He retakes the league lead with 17 home runs. His current 162 game pace, 57 homers, 121 runs, 121 RBI, 30 steals. And Bobby Witt, 3 for 4 with 2 socks and a shoe. That's 2 homers and a steal, 6 RBI in this game, 3 hard hits, one of his home runs, 111 exit velocity, 468 feet. Bobby Witt is batting .304. He's got 7 homers, 45 runs scored, 16 steals, a .908 OPS, and just crushing the ball. 93 mile per hour average exit velocity. The barrel rate is up. The expected stats are just on a different level right now. So shout out to those two guys in an environment where we have needed offense. Kyle Tucker and Bobby Witt are carrying teams right now. Quick reminder to sign up for the FBT newsletter if you haven't already. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can scan the QR code. That will take you right to the website. You click on the FBT logo, punch in your email address, and it's easy as that. Speaking of the newsletter, Chris Towers is back tomorrow. We'll welcome him back with open arms, find out about his trip, and have lots of rankings updates on tomorrow's show. Let's take our first break, and when we return, we'll hit the news and notes. We'll do that right after this.
2 big boys getting ready to play. Big being the operative word here. And here they come.
Welcome back in the news and notes. Trea Turner hit on the field and ran at 80% effort on Tuesday. He's ramped up his workouts over the last week and has not reported any soreness in his left hamstring. Austin Riley has now missed 8 straight due to left intercostal inflammation. It's kind of baffling that the Braves never put him on the IL, especially when it first happened. But at this point, it kind of feels like they should just wait it out, I guess, right?
No, they should put him on the IL. He's already gone 8 days without playing.
Yeah, I guess they could do it retroactively, right? So,
yeah.
Weird the way they've handled that. Luis Robert will play 5 innings in the Arizona Complex League on Wednesday. That will be his first rehab action since suffering the hip injury that he's dealt with. Kodai Senga played light catch on Tuesday, and the hope is he'll be able to throw off a mound later this week. Bobby Miller threw a 3-inning, 51-pitch sim game on Tuesday and is expected to make a rehab start at Single A on Sunday. Royce Lewis ran the bases Monday, his first time doing so since suffering that right quad strain. Sounds like he'll be back at some point in June, assuming no setbacks. Max Muncy took some ground balls Tuesday as he started up baseball activities. He was placed in the IL last week with a grade 1 right oblique strain. Ryan Pepio will be reinstated to start Wednesday against the Red Sox. Nico Horner returned to the lineup after missing 6 straight with left hamstring tightness. Ronel Blanco will return from his suspension to start Sunday against the A's. John Gray left his start with a right groin strain. Christian Encarnacion Strand will have a follow-up exam on June 5th. He's recovering from a fracture in his right wrist. Nick Lodolo will throw an extended bullpen within the next day or two. He's on the IL with a mild groin strain. The Rockies have halted Nolan Jones's rehab assignment because of right knee soreness. There was some speculation that he would be activated on Tuesday. That obviously did not happen. Jeffrey Springs made his first rehab start at the Rays Florida Complex League affiliate. He allowed 1 run with 2 strikeouts over 1 inning of work. He's 24% rostered, likely back at some point in June. And I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, Scott, but you did the IL stash rankings recently. Do you remember ballpark where Jeffrey Springs was on that list?
Yeah, he was. I mean, I don't know that it offers much context to just throw a number out there. So maybe I would have to say what other IL stashes he was around, and I'd have to pull open the article to do that. But hey, I got it right here. It's opening. It's opening. You wanted me to answer quicker than this, probably.
It's all good. I just kind of threw it your way.
Jeffrey Springs. I've got him in the same range as like Shane Baz and Eduardo Rodriguez, Wilson Contreras. Yeah, I mean, he's still a ways away.
Yeah, I would say probably a month from now.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Rays, you think they treat him like a normal starter when he first comes back, or because the Rays don't really do things in traditional ways, and I don't know, maybe he's like a 4 or 5 inning starter for the first couple turns through.
There's a good chance. I think what his rehab outings look like, particularly as he's nearing a return, will give us some insight into that. Because I don't think he'd go further in his rehab outings than he does when he's promoted.
Mm-hmm. All right. Again, that is Jeffrey Springs. Should be back in about a month. 24% rostered, widely available if you have space on your IL. I know there's been a lot of injuries this year. Jake Fraley exited Tuesday after getting hit by a pitch on his right hand. X-rays came back negative. DJ LeMahieu is expected to be activated on May 28th. Joe Ross was placed in the IL with a lower back strain, and Kyle Hendricks has been moved to the Cubs bullpen following a 10.57 ERA as a starter this season.
One pitcher who has not been good.
No, Kyle Hendricks has not. I think I rank in the middle of the pack in ERA and WHIP in NL Labor, and I've had Kyle Hendricks in my lineup all season long.
It's all his fault.
I mean, just think about it. A 10.57 ERA, where would my team rank if he was not in there?
I know. I got a couple starts from him at the start of the year in Tout Wars, so I feel you. I feel you, dog.
I have Shota Imanaga, so I mean, those two are kind of like canceling each other out. It's been so annoying. All right, let's get into some of those breakouts. Maybe they're just really good, and Ranger Suarez was part of that list. We spoke about him extensively. Bryan Woo, he was awesome at the New York Yankees. 6 shutout innings, 2 hits, 0 walks, 7 strikeouts. He had 16 swinging strikes on 77 pitches. That is a 21% swinging strike rate, and 10 of those came on the fastball, 2 on the slider, 2 on the changeup, 1 on the sinker, 1 on the sweeper. Basically had everything working in this start. That fastball in particular was great. 10 of the 16 whiffs, as I mentioned. His velocity was up pretty much across the board in the start as well, and he has now allowed 1 earned run total. Bryan Woo has in his 3 starts. It's 15 strikeouts to 2 walks. I have the lingering concern of the forearm, the elbow, how he's been dealing with that kind of, off and on all season, I guess. But man, if you picked him up, he was a popular breakout candidate before he got hurt entering the season. He might just be awesome, Scott.
I mean, he might be, because that is the default for any starting pitcher. What's weird about Bryan Woo is that so much of his arsenal is just his 2 most used pitches, fastball and sinker. So 2 fastballs.
That's basically kind of the Mariners way, right? It's kind of like the George Kirby mold, I guess.
But he doesn't throw any kind of breaking ball or off-speed pitch much. I don't know. He's been a weird one for me to figure out, but the results have been consistently good, even last year. I think the most notable observation here with Bryan Woo is that even though he made it 6 innings, he threw just 77 pitches, and he has yet to throw 80 in 3 starts since returning. So we could say, hey, look, he extended to 6 innings this time. But if the pitch count wasn't up there, I don't know that the Mariners are ready to let him handle a full workload yet. And by the way, they didn't really in his rookie season either. There were a lot of early hooks for Bryan Woo then as well. So that may be the biggest thing holding him back. It's to his credit that he was so efficient that he got through 6 on 77 pitches, but that's not going to happen often.
Right. Again, that was Bryan Woo. Let's talk about Garrett Crochet, who was great again at the Blue Jays. He threw 6 shutout innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, only 10 swinging strikes on 85 pitches, but did a great job limiting the hard contact. And he has really gone away from that slider. Over his past 4 starts, he used it only 3 times total in this outing. And
he was throwing it 40% of the time in his first start of the season, Garrett Crochet, and then he threw it 3 times in this one.
I don't know if it's such a bad thing, though. The slider did have a 722 slugging percentage entering this start. And if you look at all 4 of his pitches, they've all been great. The fastball, the cutter, the changeup, the slider. So I think maybe eliminating the slider while it's getting, hit harder than those other pitches, he's still pitching well. Now, the swinging strike rate has kind of trended down as a result of not throwing that slider as much, but the results are still there. The last 5 starts for Crochet, it's a .96 ERA, a .71 WHIP, 34 strikeouts to just 5 walks. I know we had that little snag early on in the season, but since then, he's just been money.
Yeah, so is he better off throwing the slider? Yes, it's his best swing and miss pitch, and I will note that if you look at the game log, the swinging strike rate, the swinging strike totals start to start for Garrett Crochet were very high consistently early on, and they've been low consistently pretty much since he began fading the slider. If you just do the first however many starts, it was this number, and then the last however many starts, it was this number, it won't be as striking to you as going through the game log, because he did have one random start 2 turns ago where he had 11 strikeouts and 21 swinging strikes. So that kind of skews the rates over the stretch where he's faded the slider. The results have been better, and that's because the way the league is playing right now, a pitcher doesn't need to miss a lot of bats to find success, as we were talking about a lot at the top of the show. If the environment changes, will Garrett Crochet maybe want to mix in that slider more and get more whiffs? Yes, I could see that happening. But as you point out, he's doing fine without it.
At what point, Scott, would you look to sell high on Garrett Crochet? Because he is up to 57 2/3 innings so far, and we know he had a pretty limited workload entering this season. Is there once he gets to 100 innings, would you maybe, all right, it's time for me to kind of cash out on Garrett Crochet here?
I mean, if you want me to answer that specific question, yeah, probably 100 innings is. How many is he at now?
57 2/3.
57? Maybe more like 80 innings. Because I don't know that. It's hard to say how much the White Sox are going to let him go. Obviously, he's hardly thrown at all this year, and you look at his professional history, it was all in relief, so he hasn't thrown many innings any year. But he is already a few years into his service time and closer to free agent than you might realize. And so how protective are they going to be of him? These are questions without answers. So 80 innings, 100 innings, okay, might start to get a little concerned. But I wouldn't be shocked if he threw 150 innings. Having said that, maybe it'll be more like 125. Maybe it'll be more like 150. Maybe he'll get hurt and it won't be either. But it is something that has to be on your mind. Just as a general idea, though, the idea of selling high on Garrett Crochet, how are you going to pull that off? And it's kind of the theme of the show. Who is so desperate for a Garrett Crochet that they're going to pay high for him? I mean, when it wasn't that long ago, people were dropping him and other people were picking him up off waivers. And what's his overall ERA now?
It is 3.75 with
on a bad team,
a .95 WHIP.
Yeah, I get it. I think Garrett Crochet is good, but there's so much good out there.
Yeah.
So I think just as a general, I said this yesterday. Who did I say it about the other day? Tanner Houck. I think it was. If there's a starting pitcher who's good and you have any misgivings about him, and somebody is demanding to make a trade, is demanding that the trade you're making to get a hitter, let's say, the scarcer commodity between pitchers and hitters, you're getting a hitter in this deal, and somebody's demanding, I'll only do this if you include. The other day it was Tanner Houck, but I'll only do this if you include Garrett Crochet. I don't think I'd let that stop me. I'd be like, okay, I can find someone else to fill in for Garrett Crochet, given the current state of pitching versus hitting.
Last name on this list of breakouts, maybe they're just really good. Maikel Garcia. He's really picked things up since that early slump. It was a weird start. It was like the first week was amazing for Maikel Garcia. Then the next 2 weeks were really bad. But since the middle of April, Garcia has been great. His last 30 games, he's batting .320, only 2 home runs, but 8 steals and an .846 OPS. He makes a lot of contact. He hits the ball extremely hard. And overall, the counting stats are there. He's got 5 homers, 11 steals, .263 batting average. I was updating the infield ranks today, and I now have Maikel Garcia, I think, inside of my top 15 third baseman in both formats, in both roto and head-to-head points. And I think he might just be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to oversimplify everything, but you have a hitter who's performing, you just stick with him at this point. And no, I think Maikel Garcia, we've talked about him a lot this year, but there's plenty of reason to buy him.
Uh-oh.
Got back.
Robo Scott. We jinxed it on his podcast. Robo Scott. He's here.
I need to
He's back.
Increase that temporary internet file space even more. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, you're here.
Yeah, strikeout rate's down. Exit velocity's good. For Maikel Garcia, we're talking about elevating the ball a little better this year and steals bases. So what's not to like?
All right, let's take our final break. And when we return, we'll get into all of the waiver wire options from Tuesday's action. We'll do that right after this.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Welcome back in. Let's talk waiver wire pitchers from Tuesday. And Brandon Pfaadt turned in a strong start at the Dodgers. 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 of those earned, with 7 strikeouts to just 1 walk. And he has now turned in 5 straight quality starts. He's allowed 3 earned runs or less in 7 straight outings. And he has lowered the ERA to 4.05. Still a little bit high, but it's a 108 whip. The FIP, 317. The xFIP, 355. The K to walk ratio looks really good. And how has he done this? Well, he's taken a step forward with the walks, home runs, barrels, hard contact. They're all down so far this season. I mean, the home run rate is drastically down. Could be part of the environment, but I really like what we're seeing from Brandon Pfaadt. He is 68% rostered. The other name is Andrew Abbott, who continues to pitch well. 7 shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, with 2 strikeouts. And he has allowed 2 earned runs or less in 9 of 10 starts this season. He also has 4 strikeouts or less in 7 of 10. So the FIP and xFIP, not really buying it as much with Andrew Abbott, but he is doing a better job limiting hard contact, limiting barrels this season. And the expected ERA was 2.79 entering this start. So I don't know, Scott, maybe if home runs are just down this season and Andrew Abbott's a fly ball pitcher, maybe he'll just find a way to succeed. He's 54% rostered. Which one of these two do you buy into more, Brandon Pfaadt or Andrew Abbott?
Oh, definitely Pfaadt. Even so, I'm not sure he quite makes the cut in most leagues, given the amount of pitching the amount of quality pitching that's available. He has an ERA on the high side. Maybe he deserves better, but it is on the high side. It's over 4, and he's not like a big time strikeout pitcher. He's a fine strikeout pitcher. And so I think that kind of just leaves Pfaadt on the outside looking in most leagues for now.
Would you go ahead?
But then Andrew Abbott, like, he's emblematic of what we're talking about here, where okay, yeah, his hard hit rate is low, but average exit velocity is still in the bottom half of the league. Barrel rate still in the bottom half of the league. So the quality of contact or contact quality, I should say, is decent. He's allowing decent contact quality, extremely high fly ball rate, pitching in the most homer-friendly park. It's not like his control is very good. It's not like he's striking out many guys at all. This should not be a good pitcher, Andrew Abbott. And yet, he continues to thrive because everybody's thriving almost. So like, I guess he would be the first if the environment were to change, if the ball were to start carrying better as the weather warms up, Abbott would be one of the first to drop out of the usable range in fantasy. But nobody's that invested in him anyway. What'd you say his roster rate was? I know it was I think it was around 50% when I was doing streamer pitchers this week.
Yeah, 54%.
Yeah. So nobody's much buying in anyway.
Mm-hmm. Would you take either of those names over Alek Manoah, who's the most added pitcher on CBS?
No, I prefer Manoah. I prefer to chase the ceiling there versus what I think is probably a mid-tier guy in Fott. If things go right, and in Abbott's case, he could, like I said, he could be one of the first to drop out if the home runs pick up.
Yeah, every time I look at James Paxton's roster rate, it's still so high. It's 88%. Would you drop either of hit? Like, would you drop him for either of these names?
Yeah, I'm sorry, James Paxton will be one of the first to drop out too. He may happen. That may happen even if the home runs don't pick up across the league. So I'd be fine dropping Paxton for, well, definitely Manoah. I'd be fine dropping him for Fott. I wouldn't mind dropping him for Abbott, but I'm not going to push for that one as hard.
Here's an interesting name. Kyle Harrison, 85% rostered. Who would you rather have, Harrison or Brandon Fott?
Fott. I think
so.
Harrison.
I think so too.
No, I'm surprised that roster rate has continued to remain as high as it has, because does he happen to have like a good win-loss record in kind of a fluky way? He has 4-1. So that probably has something to do with it. Just the points leaguers holding on because the points total looks decent because he's happened to win a lot of games, but he hasn't done a lot to deserve those wins.
Mm-hmm. Again, that was Kyle Harrison. Scott and I are both taking Brandon Fott over Harrison. Moving forward, some pitchers in deeper leagues. Alec Marsh turned in a quality start against the Tigers. 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts in that one. Cal Quantrill pitched very well at the Oakland A's. 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. He is throwing the splitter a lot more this season. It was actually his most used pitch in this start, and it's been a really good pitch for Cal Quantrill so far. And Cooper Criswell is a name we have not talked about. He pitches for the Red Sox. He was at Tampa Bay. He threw 5 1/3, 2 runs allowed, 6 strikeouts, and he's done a good job limiting runs, but not going deep into his starts. He hasn't completed 6 innings a single time this season. In deeper leagues, Scott, any interest in those names? Marsh, Quantrill, and Cooper Criswell.
My interest level, I'll rank them as Marsh, Criswell, and Quantrill. I have pointed out that Quantrill has basically ditched his breaking balls now that he's in Colorado and is going with fastball splitter primarily, which may work. That may be the approach that works at Coors Field better than any other, and he's had success with it so far. But only one pitcher in the Rockies' 30-year history has been a real fantasy asset. So I would strongly bet against Quantrill being that in the long run. I don't think the success for even Marsh, my top choice of these 3, is especially durable. So it would just be deep league consideration for these 3.
All right, let's slide over to the waiver wire hitters. And in shallower leagues, Matt Chapman has really picked things up. He went 2 for 5 with his 6th home run. He had 4 hard hits in this game, and over his last 11 games, batting .372 with 2 homers, 12 runs scored, and 2 steals. Matt Chapman is 74% rostered, and Ezekiel Tovar is quietly having a solid season. 2 for 5 with a double dong. He's batting .279, 7 homers, 4 steals, a .781 OPS. The plate discipline remains a mess. I mean, Ezekiel Tovar, he puts Javier Baez to shame in terms of his aggressiveness. I mean, the chase rates, the swinging strike rates, they are massive for Ezekiel Tovar. But even with that, he's finding a way to succeed so far. He is 73% rostered. The only leagues they probably could be added in, Scott, are like 10-team leagues or points leagues. Do you think either Chapman or Tovar should be rostered in those leagues?
Only on an emergency basis. They were both among my sleeper hitters for this week, so I'm glad they're off to good starts this week.
There you go, Scott. Take a bow.
Yeah. I mean, it's more relief because as I try to stress as often as possible when I'm putting together those sleeper pitcher and hitter lists for the week, I'm choosing among some bad options. And so it's never, I put out that list with very low confidence every week, and I'm usually surprised whenever it works out. Just because all the good players are rostered already. So what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tovar and Chapman, I think they're more emergency options than ones you're going to want to rely on long term.
How do you rank these multi-position hitters? They're all rostered in right around 70% of leagues. Luis Rengifo continues to hit 2 for 5 with his third home run. He added 3 RBI. He has 12 steals on the season. Willie Castro, low-key, has been pretty good. 1 for 3 with a walk and his 4th home run. He has 6 stolen bases as well. And Abraham Toro has been solid with the A's, 1 for 4 with his 5th home run. He has led off every game since May 7th, and he is batting .294, 5 homers, 25 runs scored, 2 steals, and an .803 OPS. Scott, how do you rank Rengifo, Castro, and Abraham Toro?
First of all, I need to correct myself. I don't think Matt Chapman was on my sleeper hitters list. I think I'm confusing that with the a waiver wire article I put out at the start of this week. So, take away that credit. I don't deserve that. Okay, so now we're talking about those scrubby infielders. We talked about him yesterday. I don't think Luis Rengifo is a scrub. I think even in points leagues, he deserves to be rostered at this point because he's been so prolific on the bases and doesn't strike out much and is super versatile. I think he's good. I think he's one of the most rostered hitters right now, and that is a rare find. Probably should have had him on the sleeper hitters list, regardless of what the matchups looked like, frankly. And then the other two, Abraham Toro, and who was the third one?
Willie Castro.
Willie Castro. Yeah, I don't think either is especially durable. Castro hasn't been nearly as prolific on the bases as he was last year. That could always change. It's not like stolen bases have a consistent distribution over the course of the season. He's playing a lot, and he's hitting well enough to keep playing a lot. So of those two, I'd be more interested in Castro. But Toro was among my sleeper hitters for this week. I'm certain of that. So I can take credit for him having a good game.
A name we mentioned towards the end of yesterday's podcast is David Fry, who came off the bench as a pinch hitter and blasted another home run. He went 1 for 1 with a walk and his 5th home run. He is batting .338 with 5 homers and 3 steals, a .1064 OPS. He's only started 5 of the past 10 games. I think this is only for like 2 catcher leagues anyways, but I don't. Should David Fry be rostered in like 12-team 2 catcher leagues at this point?
12-team 2 catcher leagues. I'm not sure. It probably makes the top 24 for me now. I did go through just this past weekend in all my 15-team roto leagues, the Tout Wars and TGFBI, and I'm in a main event league with a team I share with somebody else. And made sure Fry was my second catcher in all of them because I'm tired of dealing with the Ben Rortfits of the world and the Reese McGuires of the world. Just give me David Fry. He keeps producing. Doesn't play as consistently, but I have hope because they use him at positions other than catcher sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Some names in deeper leagues. Luke Raley is having himself a big May. He went 1 for 5 with his 4th home run. And so far in the month, batting .396. All 4 of his home runs have come here in May. 2 steals and 1118 OPS. Nick Gonzalez continues to impress early on with the Pirates. 2 for 5 with a run and an RBI. He's 11 for 39. Has 2 homers, a steal, a 772 OPS, hitting the ball really hard so far. Ji Hwan Bae was recalled by the Pirates and made an immediate impact. 1 for 3 with a walk, a steal, run, and RBI. And he was hitting really well at AAA this season. .367, 4 homers, 7 steals, hitting the ball really hard. OPS over 1,000. That was Ji Hwan Bae. Mark Vientos has multiple hits in 3 of 5 games since being recalled by the Mets. He went 2 for 4 with his 2nd home run. And Dylan Moore had a huge game against the Yankees. 3 for 4 with a double dong, 4 RBI. He's got 6 homers, 6 steals, has started 11 straight for the Mariners. Any interest in these, Scott? Deeper leagues, Moore, Vientos, Ji Hwan Bae, Nick Gonzalez, and Luke Raley.
Sure. So you point out what Ji-Hwan Bae was doing at AAA, and yeah, that's exciting. Nick Gonzalez kind of has a stranglehold on second base, I would think, right now, given the improvements he's made, cutting down the strikeout rate, hitting the ball harder. He's the one I'm most excited about of this group, Nick Gonzalez, but definitely interested in seeing how this playing time shakes out for Ji-Hwan Bae, given that he's capable of stealing a lot of bases too. Dylan Moore has had a huge May. For the month, Dylan Moore is slashing 293, 391, 672, 5 home runs for May. His fly ball rate is very high. His pull rate is very high. So he has maximized his swing for power. But J.P. Crawford is back, and Dylan Moore had mostly been playing shortstop. So they'll have to find... He's a versatile guy. If they're motivated to keep him in the lineup, they can. Quick glance at the depth chart here. Yeah, they got room in their outfield for him, I would imagine. Will they actually play him? I don't know. It remains to be seen. They got Dominic Canzone. They got Luke Raley, who a couple lefties who they usually play against righties. So we have to see for more too. It's bad timing if you're looking to pick him up with Crawford back, but there is a possibility he keeps getting to play. And then finally, Mark Vientos. He has power. Since returning, he started 3 games, I believe, against a left-hander with Brett Beatty sitting, and this was the first time he started against a right-hander over Beatty. Good numbers at AAA this year, but still a 29% strikeout rate, 29% strikeout rate down there. And I imagine that's going to cause problems in the majors. Worth keeping an eye on for the power potential is Vientos, but I'm not optimistic that he'll be an impactful fantasy option.
4 hitters we haven't talked much about lately. Michael Harris had himself a game here on Tuesday, 1 for 5 with a sock and a shoe, his 5th home run, his 7th steal. The counting stats are what's holding Michael Harris back. 19 runs scored, 17 RBI. And he's taken a step back in some areas that I really liked that he did last year. Like he's been bad against lefties so far. The ground ball rate is way up once again for Michael Harris. But I will point out, just remember what he did from June 1st on last year. So maybe it's just, all right, the weather heats up and so does Michael Harris. I think that is a possibility moving forward for him.
Yeah, it's difficult to rush to judgment on him, knowing that at this point last year, as disappointing as you think Michael Harris is now, on May 21st last year, he was batting 171 with a 509 OPS.
Oy.
Things turned around.
Yes, he certainly did. Thairo Estrada is picking things up lately. He went 1 for 4 with a walk and his 8th home run. He had 4 hard hits in this game in the month of May, batting 282 with 3 homers, 13 RBI, a 772 OPS. I just hate that he only has 1 steal, and I kind of feel like this is a Bob Melvin thing. Since, the Giants this season, they are dead last in steals. They have 16 steals as a team. Ellie De La Cruz has double that by himself. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So don't love it. I mean, Estrada had 44 steals the past 2 years entering this one. I think he's probably going to run eventually, but so far he hasn't. Jarren Duran had himself a big game, 1 for 3 with a walk, a sock, and a shoe. His 3rd home run, his 11th steal, and he's batting 271 with an 804 OPS. And CJ Abrams, we haven't talked about him lately because he's been really bad. He hasn't done anything in the month of May, batting 216, 0 homers, 1 steal, a 504 OPS. I wonder if this might just be part of the profile for Abrams, because we've seen him have these massive months and then also month-long slumps. And I just wonder if maybe that's kind of the player he's going to be, like a streaky hitter from month to month. CJ Abrams, anything to add on him, Duran, and Thairo Estrada?
Maybe for CJ Abrams, I'm certainly not enjoying this month, given that I was buying him pretty hard on that May, feeling like he had taken a big step forward. He is still only 23, so we have many years to figure out what kind of player he is. must start at shortstop, especially given the offensive environment. I'm not backing down from that part of it, at least. But is he going to be a 30-30 guy this year? Well, probably not. Okay, who else are we talking about? We're talking about
Duran and Estrada.
Duran. Yeah, you kind of went into Estrada already. Duran's fine. He hit his third home run in this game, and I don't think you should expect any more because he's very ground ball oriented and all fields minded. So it's not a batted ball profile that's optimized for power, but decent batting average, stealing bases. That's good enough to start in most leagues.
Yeah, especially at the outfield position, which has been a disaster so far this year. So the expected numbers back up the batting average for Duran. I think like a 270, 10 homers, 30 to 40 steals. That's a pretty damn valuable player. But I think that's perhaps what we're looking at with Jarren Duran this season. Two pitchers who had some rough outings on Tuesday night. Javier Assad took a step back at the Braves, 4 2/3 innings, 3 runs, 2 of those were earned. He walked 5, which was a career high. He also allowed 2 homers. So we got pretty much regression across the board with the
As soon as I open my mind to the possibilities of Javier Assad, comes back to bite me.
That
He wants me to stay closed-minded, that Javier Assad.
Yep.
He still has a 1.70 ERA on the year.
I mean,
for what it's worth.
The xFIP is 4.16. It's, if home runs do start to leave the yard,
yeah, he'll be
in baseball. I mean,
Javier Assad will be like Andrew Abbott and probably one of the first to drop out of relevance here. I agree with that. He does get a pass for the 2 home runs in this one, I think. I didn't see what direction they left the yard, but the wind was blowing out 22 miles per hour to left field. There's a lot of wind blowing out, as often is the case at Wrigley Field. So maybe we give Assad a pass. 5 walks are bad any way you look at it. But it's not like he was a control artist prior to this start.
I don't do this often, Scott, but I tried to tell you. I tried to tell everybody out there, you should have sold high on Christian Javier when you had the chance. He went up against the Angels, 4 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs allowed, 3 walks to 1 strikeout, allowed a lot of hard contact, 2 starts in a row now. The velocity was down quite a bit. His fastball down 1.5 miles per hour. The slider down almost 2 miles per hour. I don't know if he's healthy right now with the velocity as bad as it is and his inability to throw strikes. I mean, all the underlying numbers look terrible for Christian Javier. Is he a drop candidate?
Well, I said so prior to last start. Last start made me want to take a second look at him because even though the velocity was down a mile per hour, it was down more like 1.5 to 2 miles per hour in this one. It was down 1 mile per hour in the last one. And I thought that might be intentional because he got more movement on his changeup and slider. And it was one of his best strikeout starts, one of his best swinging strike starts. It was, by the stat line, a throwback Christian Javier start to the good days. And so maybe it was an intentional adjustment and he was going to take off from here. But then he follows it up with this start, striking out 1 in 4 innings.
Yeah.
And never mind. Probably safe to move on from Christian Javier.
Would you drop him for either Brandon Pfaadt or Andrew Abbott?
I mean, I'm not eager to pick up Abbott. If it's a streaming situation, that's fine. I'm not eager to pick up Pfaadt either, but I think that's a little easier to sign off on.
Let's check back in the poll. Bad job by you, Scott. You didn't remind me to check. But
the show's not over yet. I mean, you don't know.
Which pitcher would you rather have rest of season, Pablo Lopez or Ranger Suarez? 58.5% of the vote goes to Pablo Lopez. So perhaps I was right to say that I would take Pablo Lopez over Ranger Suarez if I got that trade in my inbox. But guess what?
You're just gonna crowdsource all of your roster decisions, Frank. Is that how you're gonna run your fantasy team?
Yeah, why not?
Just run them all by your Twitter following there and act accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're okay with that? You're good with that?
Yeah, we've always said that, we love Twitter and all of their and all of the people that occupy that website.
Well, in this case, I think they're right too, obviously. But
yes,
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
a dangerous game you're playing. That's all I'm saying.
Let's get into some of the other leftovers. Starting with the pitchers, Joe Ryan was dominant at the Nationals, 7 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts there. Logan Webb turned in a quality start at the Pirates, 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts. Still just 9 swinging strikes on 103 pitches. I guess glass half full. All 9 of them came on the changeup, so that was a welcome sight. Yusei Kikuchi, another quality start up against the White Sox. 6 innings, 3 runs. 2 of those were earned with 6 strikeouts and 13 swinging strikes. And Joe Musgrove did not last very long in his return at the Reds. He did not have a rehab start, so my guess is they wanted to limit him here. He threw 3 innings, 2 unearned runs, 3 strikeouts, 12 swinging strikes on 66 pitches. That's a pretty damn good ratio, but we need to see more, obviously, from Joe Musgrove. Anything on him, Kikuchi, Logan Webb, and Joe Ryan?
I thought it was pretty encouraging, Musgrove. Yeah, I mean, it was going to be a short start. First one back from elbow inflammation. Threw a lot more curveballs than usual, 33% versus 20%. And got a lot more whiffs. And I always like whiffs, even though they haven't been as useful. It hasn't been as clear of a ratio this year, whiffs to success. I think taking the 30,000-foot view, it will be.
Hitting leftovers, a welcome back to Byron Buxton, who actually returned on Saturday, but this was his official welcome back. 2 for 5 with a double dong and 3 RBI. The plate discipline has been a disaster for Byron Buxton, and the batted ball distribution has also been very weird for him. Maybe this is the start of Byron Buxton taking off. I hope so, but we haven't seen much from him.
It would be nice if Chris comes back and Byron Buxton comes to life. That would be fitting.
Let's do it. Bryce Harper is crushing in the month of May, 2 for 3 with a walk and his 11th home run. In the month, he is batting .359, 5 homers, 2 steals, and an 11-11 OPS. Make a wish. O'Neal Cruz recorded the 2 hardest hit balls of the season in the same game. 3 for 5 with 2 doubles and an RBI. Had 3 batted balls over 116 miles per hour. A single that went 120.4 and a double 121.5. How about that?
That is impressive. How is the strikeout rate looking? It is down in May. It was 37% in April, which was discouraging. 27% in May. It's high, but it's probably low enough for O'Neal Cruz to find success. So I don't know. Now I'm kind of wondering at one point in April, I had moved CJ Abrams ahead of O'Neal Cruz. Should I move them back?
I think I would stick with Abrams.
Why don't you ask Twitter?
Should I?
No, it just seems like something you'd do.
I did it one time.
I agree. I'm going to keep Abrams over Cruz for now, but it's tightening up again.
And Shohei Ohtani had another big game, 2 for 4 with an RBI, 2 runs scored, and 2 more steals. He is up to 13 steals on the season. Some bullpen updates for the Guardians. Emmanuel Clase allowed a hit in the 9th, but picked up his 15th save. He has a .36 ERA and a .59 whip. He looks like the Emmanuel Clase from a couple of years ago, one of the best closers in fantasy. For the Reds, Alexis Diaz got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He walked 1, but picked up his 8th save of the season. For the Red Sox, Kenley Jansen allowed a hit, but picked up his 8th save. For the Phillies, Jose Alvarado got the 9th with a 3-run lead. He struck out 2 for his 9th save. For the Giants, Camilo Doval entered with 1 out, 2 runners in the 9th, and a 4-run lead. He gave up a walk, a single. There was an error behind him, an RBI groundout, and then a game-tying double. And that equaled 4 runs scored. Doval took his first blown save of the season. For the Brewers, Trevor McGill got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He gave up a hit, but struck out 3 for his 7th save. For the Mariners, Andres Munoz allowed a walk and a hit, but struck out 1 for his 10th save. And I know earlier in the season, Munoz was being used more higher leverage situations. It really kind of seems like he's settled back into the 9th inning, but
Yeah.
Never know with Scott Service, I guess.
You never
For
know.
the
He's
Astros,
not here to serve us. That's for sure.
No. For the Astros, Josh Hader tossed 2 perfect innings with 4 strikeouts across the 9th and the 10th. On the other side, for the Angels, Carlos Estevez got the bottom of the 10th inning with the game tied. He gave up a walk and a hit. The Manfred man comes in to score, and he took his 3rd loss of the season. If you have Carlos Estevez on your fantasy team, don't ever watch him pitch. It is so scary to watch Carlos Estevez pitch. It is my goodness. For the Oakland A's, Mason Miller got the 9th with a 1-run lead, and guess what he did? He struck out the side for his. Come on, Mason Miller. He doesn't blow saves. He struck out the side for his 9th save. I heard the broadcast call Mason Miller the Reaper, and if that is really his nickname, I love it. So if there are any A's fans out there, tweet at me and let me know if this is a real nickname for Mason Miller, the Reaper, because that would be fantastic.
Let's see if this is a Baseball Reference sanctioned nickname. It is not. It is not listed on Baseball Reference, but maybe
that was the first place I looked.
Maybe they just haven't gotten around to it yet. Maybe it's such a new nickname, fresh off the press. I don't, that's not what you do with nicknames, but fresh nickname just dropped. The Reaper, Mason Miller. I like it.
Oh yeah,
Mason Miller, Soldier Spy.
To stream or not to stream for Wednesday, and oh right, we hated this yesterday. I don't know. Jake Irvin against the Twins. Austin Gomber at the A's. Yuck.
Not good. Who did we pick? We said somebody gun to the head.
Kyle Gibson revenge game, I think.
I think it was Jake Irvin.
Yeah. Tyler Anderson at the Astros. Ugh.
No,
I don't think so. On Thursday, it is a smaller slate, and we don't have great options here either. Oh no. I think Colt.
So what is the cutoff you use for roster rate to pick among the pitchers here?
Under 75%.
Under 75.
Yeah. I think Cole Irvin at the White Sox is fine.
Yeah.
Ryan Feltner at the A's, it could work.
Nah.
No.
Done with him. I think Cole Irvin's the only one I could stomach. Maybe Matt. If you're a gambler, Matt Waldron at the Reds, just because they got a young, strikeout-prone lineup, and his knuckleball is going to be unlike anything they've ever seen before, and he's coming off a great start against the Braves.
All right, we're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.